Welcome to Upstart Footy Preview for round 23. I was going through my DVD cabinet the other day, picked out a film, picked out 2 weeks' notice. And my mum said to me, why the heck would you pick out 2 weeks' notice? Well, get excited because the AFL finals are 2 weeks away. And I was trying to get myself in the mood, and we've been prepared here at Upstart for quite some time. I'm Ben Waterworth, and here to give his expert analysis, as always, the man who was named on the interchange bench in the AFL Japanese Team of the Century, and of course, MetLink's #1 investor, John Takemura.
G'day, Benny. How are you, mate?
I'm doing okay. You excited, J-Tak?
Yeah, finals, 2 weeks to go. I know the doggies aren't going to be there, but it should be a ripping final series.
Normally an interesting encounter when Fremantle hosts Collingwood at Patterson Stadium. That game is tonight. I don't think it's going to be too interesting though, J-Tak, because Fremantle bitterly disappointing last weekend. Poor disposal efficiency, even worse attack on the footy as well. Collingwood defeated Brisbane in a very low gear last weekend, possibly even lower against Fremantle tonight. Collingwood very easily. Yeah,
you did see the Freo Dockers last week firsthand, Benny, and
yes.
Based on some of the highlights I saw too, they lacked intensity, they lacked the pressure at the footy, and North Melbourne really gave them a bit of a rollicking. Collingwood have got a few guys coming back, I believe. Davis,
yes.
Chris Dawes, Ben Johnson.
How are they going to fit them all in? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Alex Fasolo wins the Rising Star nomination, but he's not guaranteed a spot in the finals, that's for sure. But Collingwood to win easily. Freo's season's falling apart.
Two exciting teams in Hawthorn and the Western Bulldogs clash at the MCG on Saturday afternoon. Hawthorn very impressive against the Blues last weekend, J-Tak. If they're on, they can beat Collingwood and Geelong in the finals. There is no doubt about that. The Dogs have a new king in town. It's not Elvis Presley. It's not King George. It's not John Takemura. It is Jason Tutt, King Tutt himself. 3 kicks, 3 goals to start his career. Not a bad way. He's a good sign for the future. I don't think the Hawks will give this one up, though, J-Tak. They are in menacing form.
Yeah, Bulldogs were good against Port Adelaide, particularly in the first half. The so-called bye in this competition. But yeah, Jason Tutt, 3 goals with his first 3 kicks, 26 disposals, 4 goals, and certain people were wondering why he didn't get the Rising Star nomination.
Certain people.
Yes, a couple that we know personally.
Yes.
But I think Hawthorn are going to be too strong. Their forward line's working well. Isaac Smith's been in ripping form. And Bulldogs have a clear lack of depth in defence. Their top 4 defenders, Williams, Morris, Lake and Hargrave, are all out, and Buddy could have a field day.
Geelong hosts Sydney at Skilled Stadium on Saturday afternoon. The Cats haven't dropped a game at Skilled Stadium, J-Tak, since round 21, 2007. 29 consecutive victories down at the mighty Cattery. I think the Swans, we saw last weekend that they play their best footy when their backs are against the wall. I think this will be a lot closer than most people think. The Cats should still get 4 premiership points though.
Yeah, I think Geelong will be interesting to see how they come back off the bye. Sydney were good last week, but their record down at Skilled Stadium's abominable to say the least. And I think with Cameron Mooney announcing his retirement during the week, it will inspire the Geelong guys. Obviously, he's suspended for the game down at Skilled Stadium, but I think Geelong will win quite comfortably.
Game of the round by the length of the Flemington Straight is North Melbourne against St Kilda on Saturday night at Etihad Stadium. After last weekend's results, J-Tak, these two teams are possibly competing for a spot in the top 8. St Kilda very disappointed they dropped that game last weekend against Sydney, whereas the Roos, wow, so impressive against Fremantle. Todd Goldson in great form, Daniel Wells, Andrew Swallow. That midfield is looking very, very solid. I just think North Melbourne might want it a little bit more on Saturday night, J-Tak. I'm going for the Roos in a bit of an upset. And
I agree with you, Benny. I think North Melbourne, they'll be really up for this game. St Kilda, a few injuries from last weekend, really should have won that game. Even though Sydney had more shots, they were in a winning position at 3/4 time and they couldn't run it out. Nick Riewoldt, he's surely injured, there's no doubt about that.
His knee's shot, yeah.
And Kazitsky, Dawson, a couple of key players for their spine, may be missing again. So I think North Melbourne, if they can get Petrie some good service from their midfielders, I think they'll be able to kick a winning score.
Brisbane Lions hosting the West Coast Eagles at the Gabba in the other game on Saturday night. Brisbane continue to have honourable losses, J-Tak. None more honourable than against Collingwood last weekend. However, the Eagles have cemented their spot in the top 4 now. They will play Collingwood, guarantee you. They will play Collingwood in the first week of the finals. And a good victory against a good young side away from home certainly won't do the Eagles' confidence any harm.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit closer than what people think. I think West Coast, they might... they're coming off a pretty bruising game against Essendon. Brisbane were quite good last week. I thought Rockcliffe, Jack Redden.
The Leuenberger.
Karnezis, Cornelius. There's a few good young players, particularly the Irish fellas down
Pearce.
back. And McKeever. So I think, there's a bit of talent there for the Brisbane Lions, but I think West Coast, too much to play for. I think they'll knock them over.
Adelaide host Richmond at Amy Stadium in the early Sunday afternoon game. JTAC, these are two teams in the last couple of weeks who are in the bottom 8 of the ladder, bottom 9 I should say, but have been very impressive. They're both emotional teams. Adelaide won 3 of their past 4. You continue not to give them any credit whatsoever, whereas the Tigers have won their past 2 games. In Adelaide, I think the Crows will be too good, and Mark Bickley is really putting his hand up for this Adelaide coaching role.
Yeah, Adelaide were pretty good last week. I'll give him a bit of credit. Scotty Thompson, 51 disposals. Someone explained to me why a Gold Coast player just did not man him up. I just don't understand.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Guy McKenna was doing there. But I think Richmond, they're in a bit of form. Dustin Martin, they did well last week without Dustin Martin and Cochin really being prominent and paramount in their performance. And I think they can knock off Adelaide with a bit of luck.
Huge blockbuster that will draw a full crowd at the MCG on Sunday afternoon. Melbourne hosting the Gold Coast Suns. The Gold Coast Suns will be playing their first game at the MCG, so it'll be a great experience for them. The D's have shown zip, JTAC. They've shown very little since Todd Viney took over as the coach. Surely they can't drop this one, though. Melbourne's got to win this game.
This could nearly be the most meaningless match all season, Benny. I think Melbourne don't have a lot to play for, but I can't see them losing to Gold Coast, who look like they need the finish line quicker than a greyhound when it's racing around the track. But get the binoculars too, because I've
binoculars. JTAC's attack time. Jeez.
Aaron Davey is in the gun this week. He's been suspended for a week, and he's had a shocking season. He's been accused of not going hard enough at the footy. I'm not sure if his fitness is up to standard either, and he really needs to get back and have a good holiday and come back for pre-season fit, ready and firing, because a good Aaron Davey is what Melbourne needs to become a competitive side in 2012.
Final game of round 23 is Essendon hosting Port Adelaide. Sunday twilight game at Etihad Stadium. JTAC, as you said before, a bruising encounter between West Coast and Essendon last weekend, so Essendon might be a little underdone, but I just think with the bye next weekend for Essendon, they'll come out and want to try and get as much percentage as they possibly can against Port Adelaide. Let's face it, the bye at the moment. I just think the Bombers will do this one quite easily. Yeah,
Port Adelaide were incredibly uncompetitive in the first quarter against the Bulldogs on Sunday.
Yes.
But they showed a little bit in the second half, particularly with John Butcher's 6-goal performance. And if Port Adelaide are to be a competitive team anytime soon, they've got to keep him for 2012 and beyond. If they do lose him, I think they're in massive trouble. I somehow get this feeling, though, Port Adelaide might be a bit more competitive than what they've been in recent weeks. But I think Essendon at Etihad Stadium, fast track, they love playing there. They'll be far too strong. Yeah, a little competitive. That's we'll see how we go there, JTAC. And, of course, Carlton have the bias, and they're now likely to finish in 5th spot. JTAC, your expert analysis has been as good as ever. Thank you very much for joining us. Cheers, Benny. Have a good one, mate.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the footy over the weekend. Thanks, of course, to those for tuning in on bigfooty.com. We certainly do appreciate your viewership. And make sure you stick around on upstart.net.au, of course, the magazine for emerging journalists.